which means Cleveland at number 2 is going to pay attention. They're also probably going to pay attention today, starting at noon Eastern time on ESPN. Pat McAfee, LeBron James. Hour and 15-minute interview in the books, as McAfee put out there last night. It will run today, ESPN, between noon and 1:15 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN. So Cleveland and the world, obviously, will be in on that.
Juicy.
So Jeff talked about number 2, well, you can't take a quarterback. Smalls, you mentioned Cam Ward, number 1. Titans seems like it's all but locked up. What's the plan now in Cleveland at the quarterback position with no Russ?
I tend to go the other way and think that they have to take a quarterback now. What else are they going to do? What's their plan if it's not to take Shedeur Sanders, number 2? Because it does seem like all signs are indicating that Cam Ward to Tennessee is about as good of a lock as it can be, at least as we sit here today.
Yeah.
But if you're Cleveland, what's your other alternative under center if it's not going with Shedeur? This is an organization that has been in quarterback purgatory. They have been for some time. They desperately need to reset at that position and turn the page. And bringing in Shedeur not only gives you a future at that position, but it reinvigorates your fan base in a different way. Bringing in a guy like that who's accurate, a guy who has a certain amount of star power, I would not be surprised if that's where Cleveland goes at number 2.
Yeah, I mean, first blush, if you're asking me what do they do if it's not Shedeur Sanders, my thought went to Kirk Cousins, but we did get a report from Albert Breer that Kirk Cousins, with a full no-trade clause, would block a trade to prevent himself from being in the exact same situation he's in now, with a team that he's traded to drafts a quarterback in the first round. So I don't know that the Kirk Cousins of it all even gets resolved before the first night of the NFL draft, because Kirk wants to guarantee that he's not going to be walking into that same situation that he finds himself in now in Atlanta. So
can you play that out for 1 second? So let's play out what you just said.
Okay.
If you're the Browns and you're not allowed to take a quarterback, and who are you taking it to?
Travis Hunter.
Okay, so Travis Hunter is drafted by the Cleveland Browns. Now, that night after the draft, on that Thursday into Friday, we'll be there in Wisconsin and Green Bay for the draft. The Browns and the Falcons are on the phone. Kirk Cousins says, yeah, I'm good to go in Cleveland. Is that a good plan in your mind? If it's Kirk Cousins, Kenny Pickett competing for one, the other one's the backup. Travis Hunter then joins that team. He joins Jerry Jeudy as their wide receivers. Myles Garrett, obviously, face the franchise leads the defense. Is that a good plan?
Yeah, I feel good about that plan. I feel good about that plan. It's a solid plan.
Is that a better plan than drafting Shedeur too?
No.
Okay, walk us through that now.
No, I love Shedeur Sanders. I told you, I think it's a safer pick than Cam Ward. Cam Ward has all of the dominant physical traits, and you love that about him. He's also a leader and an absolute dog. You've talked to a lot of people around that Miami program. They love that dude. But when it comes to the Shedeur Sanders of it all, this is somebody that grew up in the spotlight. This is somebody who has a pedigree from one of the best to ever put cleats on in the National Football League, and his dad, Coach Prime. So I know that it won't be too big for him when he gets to the NFL. And I've seen this guy transform not one but 2 programs across 2 levels of college football. I feel like there's a lot of proof of concept with Shedeur, and the things that he does do well, being able to manipulate the pocket, not dropping his eyes, being able to throw with timing and accuracy, having a high football IQ, football acumen, field vision. I think all of those tools, all of those traits translate to success in the NFL. Yeah, he's not going to overpower or overwhelm defenses with his arm talent. But if he can throw with timing and accuracy, he can be a force multiplier. And he absolutely has that ability. So I love Shedeur Sanders for the Cleveland Browns. They need somebody that's a change agent. And Shedeur has been a disruptor every step of the way, every level of football that he's played in a positive way. There's nothing that leads me to believe that it would be any different stepping into the NFL.
So one thing off of that take versus the first one, right? So Russell Wilson, when we heard he was visiting with the Browns, we all thought, hey, this makes sense for the Browns, right? Because you have him there, you could still draft a QB2 overall. That didn't change that part of it, but we thought it made a lot of sense for them. Obviously, they let him out of the building, and he's now a member of the Giants. But it begs repeating, Myles Garrett, when he was interviewed, and we'll play it now by Andrew Siciliano, as part of the Browns network there in Cleveland, as heard on 850 ESPN Cleveland, he said he knows who the quarterback's going to be, kind of.
In all seriousness, do you know who the quarterback's going to be? I mean, do you have an idea? After conversations, I do have an idea.
Okay. Do you like the idea?
I like it enough to be here smiling in front of you because I think we have a good chance of that happening and making the most out of it.
Can you tell us who it is, Miles?
You know I can't do that.
The only person he definitively could have known at that point that would have been their quarterback is Shedeur Sanders. That is the only person. Because I don't know that anyone knew Russ's decision until yesterday.
And also, Kirk Cousins is still a big question mark.
Exactly.
And I don't know if either of those veteran options would have elicited that sort of a response where he says, I'm smiling, we're in a good position for things to unfold that way. That, to me, deducing, indicates, yeah, we're sitting there with the second overall pick. We're likely to get the guy that we want. We're in the driver's seat when it comes to Shedeur if Cam Ward's going number one.
So is this actually turning out to be a little bit more chalky than we realize as we lead up to the draft? And Mel Kiper is going to join us after 8:30 a.m. Eastern. But if you think about this, if you were to go on ESPN Bet right now, and you were to say, all right, I'm going to bet on 1 and 2, you're betting on Cam Ward to the Titans, and you're probably betting on Shedeur Sanders to the Browns based on the actions of the Browns and the Giants over the last 24 hours, right?
Yeah, and it feels like this should have been more obvious. Now, look, Myles Garrett getting paid $40 million a year probably has something to do with him being comfortable with whatever plan that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry laid out. But I'll say this. The Cleveland Browns are in cap hell. They need a cost-effective option at quarterback. What are the cost-effective options? It's trading for Kirk Cousins or drafting Shedeur Sanders at second overall. That's it. There's nothing else. There's nothing else that you would consider a cost-effective option. You know, you trade for Kirk Cousins. The Atlanta Falcons are picking up most of the bill. If you draft Shedeur Sanders, he's on the rookie wage scale. So it makes sense in terms of what Cleveland's cap situation is going to be for the foreseeable future to go with one of those two guys. And to me, if you made me pick between the two, I'm rocking with Shedeur Sanders over Kirk Cousins. I think that's the best plan for Cleveland.
What you just said is the exact feeling I had. I almost feel like, wait, how did we not all realize this was exactly what was going to happen the entire time? Because I have changed my mind a million times, right? Oh, Russ is not going to be in the Giants. He's going to be on the Browns. Oh, Rodgers really wants to go to the Giants. That's what I've said. And the more you lay it out, it's like, wait, the Myles Garrett comments can only mean Shedeur. The Titans are throwing it out there. Oh, you could trade for the number one pick until they see Cam Ward, and they're like, no, you can't. And the Giants are signing Russ because they're not going to have a chance at the first two quarterbacks.
Now, crazy enough, the odds on ESPN Bet for what the Browns are going to do at number 2, leaning toward drafting an edge player on the defensive side of the ball.
That all goes out the window now.
What are the numbers?
So, edge player is minus 145.
Okay.
Quarterback is plus 150.
Plus 150?
Yeah.
I think I'm betting quarterback. Based on everything we just laid out.
I agree with you, but those are the odds on bet. That's
Unsportsmanlike brought to you by ESPN Bet
insane.
Sportsbook. Download the app today. 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. If you listen to us, well, you may have lost your money, basically, based on what they're saying there at ESPN Bet. Okay, so we got Russ in the mix. We've got Shedeur seemingly between the Giants and the Browns at this point, is what it feels like. When is Aaron Rodgers going to pick up the phone and tell the Steelers what's going on? We will get to that after Smalls tells us about what phone he's going to use.
It has to be Verizon.